Hello, Potato, and welcome to Weekend Magic for April 22nd, 2023. So, this past week, Disney Decades Part 3 released. It was the 1940s, and it was a mishmash of Pinocchio, Dumbo, Scrooge McDuck, Fantasia, and I think one other thing, but I don't remember what it was. And frankly, I don't care that much because it was not an impressive collection. I kind of feel like we're going downhill with Disney Decades because the only thing we bought from this collection is the pin, which has arrived and we will be looking at in this video. But before we get into that, a couple of things. So ShopDisney has released images previewing the rest of the collection, and they do go along with the list that I talked about, I think a couple months ago at this point. I think shortly after the second series was announced, or hinted at strongly. And so now it seems like all of them are going to be mishmash. They're not going to all, none of them will just be the one thing like Steamboat Willie was. So next month, for the 50s, they show images of Alice in Wonderland, which I think is what they had said originally, and then Cinderella. And then the 60s is going to be Jungle Book and 101 Dalmatians, and I'm guessing it'll be a couple other things too. I'm guessing we're going to be like this month, where nothing gets 2 items. 70s is Aristocats, which was in the original prediction I had read, but also they showed the Muppets, which is interesting since the Muppets weren't part of Disney in the 70s. The 80s will be Rescue Rangers, which again was in that list that I read originally, and it shows, weirdly, the Mickey Mouse Club, which, I mean, does anybody associate Mickey Mouse Club with 80s? I could see maybe 90s, the era from where like Britney Spears and stuff were on there, but the 80s? Okay. 90s, Beauty and the Beast, which again was what the list originally had said. And then it's just Darkwing Duck. So I'm glad to see we're getting some more Disney afternoon stuff on here. I still feel like Darkwing is a weird thing to focus on compared to things like The Lion King or The Little Mermaid. But, whatever. 2000s, Princess and the Frog, to be expected. And I didn't realize the 2000s were apparently as much of a wasteland as they must have been. I mean, I knew the 70s kind of were. And the 80s, I guess, to a certain extent as well, unless you're going to do things like Black Cauldron, which I personally like, but I think Disney, not a fan of in general. But the other one they showed was Bolt. Do you remember Bolt? Does anybody remember Bolt? I did see Bolt. I think I may have actually seen it in the theater. I think we had went to like a preview screening of it. But I mean, who remembers Bolt? It didn't even get a direct-to-video sequel or anything. And then 2010s is a Toy Story 4, presumably. And the one that I thought should have been there to begin with, Frozen. So, I maintain I'm in for pins. Everything else is up in the air. Another thing I wanted to go through before we get into this week's stuff, into the haul portion of this video, is something we looked at, I think, last week, maybe the week before. And that's this pin here. The Fantasyland window pin. The only other thing now keeping Captain Marvel, their company, on the back side of the board. And the reason I'm looking at this again isn't because there's anything special about it. I mean, it's still a nice pin. I still would love to see a whole series of these window pins. But I happened to just kind of poke my head over into the ShopDisney UK website just to see if they had anything interesting or different. And one, I found that they still didn't have the new Disney Decades item. But two, they do have this pin, and they identify it as being Shanghai specifically, which I thought is kind of interesting that ShopDisney UK identifies it as being Shanghai. So, I don't know if there's any significance to that, but I thought it was interesting. But yeah, still nothing else to go back there. This week, aside from the Disney Decades, we also, I think, technically last week they were released. They released the Joey, I don't know if it's Chou or Chou collection. We bought a couple things from that. And they released a whole series of Disney villains pins, and we got a couple of those as well. So most of what we're looking at is going to be small stuff, but before we get to the small stuff, let's look at the one large item, and that is from the Joey Chou collection, and that's a puzzle. My wife has been getting into puzzles again recently, and she's had this 1,000-piece puzzle on there. Thought it looked cute. I think that's the actual image we're going for. It's kind of a map of a Disney park. Not so sure which Disney park, because it does have Orange Bird, so I'm guessing it must be Magic Kingdom. But it has Hatbox Ghost. Or is it Hatbox? Yeah, it's Hatbox. It's got a Hatbox there. And I didn't think the Magic Kingdom mansion had Hatbox. So, I'm not sure which park it's meant to actually be. It doesn't appear to say it anywhere on here. But this picture should look... But this picture is something you should get used to looking at, because we're going to look at it again in a moment. But let's look at some of the details on here. We got Tinkerbell, we got Dumbo, we got Small World, we have a castle. I'm guessing Cinderella Castle, not Sleeping Beauty. Looks like we have Big Thunder Mountain over here. We have the Mark Twain. We have Orange Bird, Hatbox Ghost, the Mickey and Walt statue. We have the Mad Hatter's Tea Party with the Cheshire Cat there. Space Mountain with Stitch riding on it. We have the Disney Railroad with Mickey and Pluto. And then over here we appear to have Adventureland with the Jungle Cruise, the Tiki Room. No Dole Whip. I guess we got Orange Bird instead. But it's your basic... Oh, there's Pirates there. There's a dog from Pirates of the Caribbean there. But I'm not sure exactly which park it's meant to be. Or if it's meant to be any one particular park. If it's meant to be just kind of bland enough as far... Or nondescript, not bland. Nondescript enough to have it be either Disneyland or Magic Kingdom. Also interesting, I don't think I've ever seen a puzzle where they don't put the picture of the puzzle on the front. They put it on the back of the box. To me, that seems novel. I don't know what the point of that exactly was, but yeah, we did buy a couple things from the Joey Chou. We'll go with Chou, C-H-O-U. I'm gonna go with Chou. Joey Chou collection, including some pins. Now I said to get used to that picture because we'll be looking at it again, and yep, here it is again. I guess I can leave this one in the... No, I can't. It's glaring something awful. So I can leave it in the plastic because they actually didn't put a label in front of the pin, but we'll go ahead and open it anyways. Now these are not 100th anniversary pins, so they are not going to go on 100th anniversary pin board. Where this is like a cello paper kind of a thing, and this is more of a softer, like folded over plastic bag. I wonder what the significance of that is, if any. Can we... Yeah, okay, it opens the top. Can we get the pins out without destroying the bag? And we can. So there are our Joey Chou pins. They do appear to be, I guess, open edition. They don't see like limited or special anywhere on them. They did suffer a little... Oh no, they didn't. It's just with light sitting. I thought we had like a crease on the card there. No, the card looks fine. They are both... No, they're not both. This one's 2-pin back. This one's only a single. But yeah, that's the same exact design as the puzzle. We got Walt, we got Hatbox, we got the Orange Bird, we got a little pin-on-pin action here with Mickey and Pluto there being a separate piece from the background. And it's kind of a busier, more decorative pin, I think, than a lot of the stuff we've been getting from Disney from the last year or so. But it's still very nice. I think there might be like a slight layer of gloss over this just to give it a little bit of a sense of depth. That could just be like my bad eyesight though. And then over here, the other Joey Chou pin, I want to keep calling him Jimmy, is a little bit more like what I'm used to seeing from Disney pins in the last few years. It has not got the smooth gloss to it. It's a little less involved, but it does appear to be Mickey and Minnie on the teacups in front of It's a Small World and the castle. Anything else there? Nope. We do have Tinkerbell up here on the top again though, because gotta have some Tinkerbell. I suspect Joey Chou likes Tinkerbell just because Tink's on like all of the stuff in this collection, I think. But we do find the art style on this to be interesting and compelling and nice. Now it's a shame they aren't 100 pins because they could go on the board then, but they're not. So Mickey, Minnie, and Captain Marvel do remain on their own in the back there for the time being. So I mentioned they also released a collection of Disney Villains pins on Shop Disney, and we did buy 3 of those. Didn't buy the whole set. There's some nice ones. I mean, like Dr. Facilier is kind of nice. I think it was an Ursula pin that was pretty good. But we picked out 3. We picked out the Evil Queen, Captain Hook, and if you watch this channel regularly, you know that I couldn't pass up Chernabog. Love me some Chernabog. You don't get enough Chernabog merchandise. That's honestly, for the Fantasia part of Decades, I would have been much happier if we'd gotten, I mean, not necessarily another Sorcerer Mickey. I've got plenty of Sorcerer Mickeys, but a Chernabog would have been nice. Now, Chernabog here did get some damage in shipping. There is some creasing on the card. But, I mean, these are such plain cards. I suppose you could probably swap them, and unless somebody looked at the barcodes, they'd never know that you changed them around. But these are all 3 pin on pin. They're all open edition, as far as I can tell. Again, they don't say limited or special anywhere on them. With Captain Hook standing in front of Skull Rock, getting away that the light doesn't glare off of it. I mean, this is like, I think, more in style with that second Joey Chou pin. As far as, I mean, it's not that it's plain, it's just, it's not as super detailed as that is. But yeah, we have Captain Hook looking, I don't know, not really particularly evil, but kind of almost a little dashing there, twirling his mustache with his hook in front of Skull Rock. We have the Evil Queen, all peacocked out in front of some red drapes. Very nice. The face is really well done on that one. And then, of course, Chernabog in front of the roiling sky of clouds coming up out of flame and wave, just to be like all super villainous looking. Yeah, I would have loved a Chernabog plush, or I might have even bought if they'd done a Chernabog magic band. Don't know when I'm going to use a magic band again, but that would have been compelling. Certainly more compelling than the Dumbo pink elephant one. Also, I feel like that was just kind of a waste of Dumbo. But I did say towards the beginning of this video that we did get our Disney Decades 1940s item. So without any further delay, let's check out the single piece of the Disney Decades collection we purchased this time. And boy, is it a big and chunky boy. This is the biggest pin I think they've done so far. I mean, I suppose if you combine the weights of Clarabelle and Horace. Oh wow, this bag is horrible. It's shredding. That's not good. It's not good at all. The plastic bag is, the sticky stuff is stronger than the packaging itself, which is really a problem because I was going to put the card back in there. But yeah, this is is a massive chunky pin. Like I said, if you combine Clarabelle and Horace together, maybe they weigh as much as this, but I think that's a maybe. That's a definite maybe. Certainly this is bigger than Steamboat Willie. And like Steamboat Willie, it is hinged, but not to make a stand, instead to open up. Now, in I think last week's video, I mentioned that the website I had seen pictures of this on initially said that was Fergus McDuck, and I thought it looked more like Flintheart Glomgold. Well, you know what? We're both wrong. That's Scrooge. That's what Scrooge looked like when he was first introduced. Now, I mentioned before, I'm not up on my Carl Barks, and this definitely proves that, doesn't it? Yeah, that is like a Scrooge as he looked originally, and that, of course, is Scrooge as he looks basically now, but circa like original DuckTales, not reboot DuckTales where we've done away with actual voice actors and hired screen actors to be all the characters. Not that I thought David Tennant was a bad Scrooge. Not by a long shot. But I do wish Disney would go back to, having voice actors voice act instead of having screen actors voice act. Because I don't have any necessarily real complaints with a lot of these things, but I don't know that Wreck-It Ralph would have been any worse had it not been Sarah Silverman as Vanellope and just been a voice actress as Vanellope. Also, because then it's somebody who could maybe come to SAC Anime, as where Sarah Silverman is never going to come to SAC Anime. At least, not unless her career really tanks out. But yeah, it's nicely done. It's not super overly detailed, but we do have original Scrooge sitting, it looks like maybe in an armchair. I think it's a little arm of an armchair there. In, I guess, more of his original outfit. looking rather angry. I mean, his name is Scrooge after all. And then we have the much more kinder, gentler, but still viciously greedy Scrooge McDuck circa DuckTales, because that would be his first time. That I'm sure about. That is his first time. And it is in his money vault. Is that magnetically clasped, or is that just... No, I don't think it is. Yeah, there's no magnet there, so this is not... If that hinge ever gets loose, this is just going to swing all over the place. We do have double pin backs, and we have words on there. Let's take him off the backing here so we can read the words. Look at the back of the pin. I don't want to handle this too much because it is very, very shiny, and yeah, it's already getting fingerprints on it. Let's try to wipe that off a bit. There we go. Disney 100, limited release. Put that over there for the moment. And we will read the words. All right, so this first part looks like the same thing it said in the last two collections. I'm not going to read that again. If you really are interested in that, go back and watch one of the other two Disney Decades videos. I am going to read the bit about Scrooge McDuck, though. Scrooge McDuck, the miserly and incredibly wealthy uncle to Donald Duck, first appeared in 1947. His character debuted in the comic book Christmas on Bear Mountain. He later earned prominence by starring in animated short films and went on to become one of the leads in the cartoon series DuckTales. So not a lot to say about Scrooge, but I mean, what else do you need to say? I mean, he's also, important in like Kingdom Hearts and Disney Dreamlight Valley. He's pretty big in there. And it's a nice pin. I mean, I was expecting a much smaller pin, I'll be honest. This is a much bigger pin than I thought it was going to be. Very, very chunky. Going to take up a lot of space on the board, but that's not a bad thing because we only have 7 more pins after this to take up that side. Now, if they're all like this, though, I will have to do some rearranging at some point, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But yeah, these are going to go back in the bag, even though it is a little shredded up now, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. So all we have left to do for this video is put the money vault on the pin board. Let's go kind of centered here, I think, for now. No, let's do it like this. I think that's good because we can open it up. I don't think it'll interfere too much with Horace there. And it leaves us room for another pin. No, because it goes onto the silver. Like I said, this is a chunky one. This is a big, big pin. I mean, you can see it there in comparison now. It's a lot bigger than either of the two. It's also, I think, crooked, but that's fine for now. And of course, we can open it up like this and look at the whole thing in all of its Scroogey glory. But I definitely like the pin. I am not sad I got the pin. I like the pin. I like Scrooge, even though I feel like I'm liking him a little bit more circa the 1980s and DuckTales. I'm guessing this is how we're getting DuckTales in there, even though we're maybe not going to see a DuckTales item when we do the 80s or 90s, because I feel like, we got Rescue Rangers for certain in the 80s, we've got Darkwing Duck for certain in the 90s. I feel like this is the only DuckTales thing that we're going to get, but I could be wrong. We'll find out in a few months. But that is it for this week. Disney Decades pin, Joey Chou pins, some Disney villains, and a puzzle. So with that, I will say I hope you found this at all interesting or entertaining. Do you have a favorite pin here? Let me know which one it is. And if you've been doing Disney Decades, or if you've not been doing Disney Decades, let me know what your opinions on that are. I am thoroughly unimpressed with the collection as a whole, but I do like the pins. I've liked all 3 pins. I kind of got my hopes up that we were going to get like 12 pins with these kind of like little stand feature there. And a little disappointed that didn't happen. Very disappointed the toy thing didn't happen. And I harped on that. Like every one of these videos where I talk about Decades, that there's not a toy. But I am liking the pins. I'm not super impressed really with anything else. And like I said, this month my wife was not into any of it. So no backpacks, no ears, just kind of skipping the rest of this month. But we'll see what next month looks like. They do have that. I think it's a Cinderella backpack. They have revealed pictures of already, which looks nice. I don't know if it's nice. I don't know that it's nice enough that my wife is going to want it, but it is nice looking. Certainly nicer looking than the Pinocchio bag was. Your mileage may vary. But regardless of that, your opinions, my opinions on the Decades collection, although again, I'm interested in hearing your opinions, I do thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.